What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Hart, and today I'll be breaking down the showdown slate here on DraftKings for the one and only playoff game we have tonight. Yep, that's right. Unfortunately, we only have one game tonight, but still going to be a fantastic game here between the Nuggets and the Suns. Just can't wait to watch it. We have 100K up top to first place per usual, so that's great. Still a ton of money to be won. So I'll be breaking it down, doing a game by game, or I guess a team by team breakdown, talking through who I like as a captain, who I like in the utility, all the good stuff, building some potential lineups. So make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Check out my PrizePicks video, which should be out after this. And let's get into the breakdown. Before I get into the breakdown, just want to say follow me on Twitter at HeartDFS and do a quick little recap of my lineup from yesterday. So once again, the core plays that I put up on my Patreon were fantastic. It was Steph Curry 47, Reeves 34, who else was Fox 55, and then Malik Monk 48. So the core plays were amazing. Really helped them out. Really helped out my lineup there, as you can see. Um, was able to get 67th place out of, I think it was 1,100 people. Yeah, almost 1,200 people. So not a bad night there. Obviously not huge money, but still was able to cash. Was able to put a solid lineup together. As I mentioned, I really like targeting that Kings game. So obviously I went with Steph, Reeves, and then I went with Herder, who was very disappointing. Andrew Wiggins was okay, solid, not too bad. Trey Lyles was super low owned. I went with them, just that's kind of how my lineup worked out when I went to, Steph, Reeves, Fox, and Monk. It just kind of, I wanted to get to Wiggins or Draymond, went with Wiggins. And then that's kind of how my lineup just kind of worked out in terms of, paying down for a center option. I took that shot on Trey Lyles, and it really worked out. As you can see there, 27 fantasy points, only 5% owned. De'Aaron Fox obviously was fantastic there, 55. And then Hachimura was it's just one of those things. Did not feel great about it. Was no one else there in that forward spot that I could kind of land on just in terms of how I built out my lineup. So it's just like I guess kind of stuck there. Rode with it, and he did, yeah, absolutely nothing. And then Malik Monk obviously was fantastic. So coming off a very solid night there on DraftKings in terms of just lineup build, looking to continue that into tonight. So for this game here, we have the Phoenix side. We're going to go through first on the utilities spot. We have Devin Booker, who is 11,000, the most expensive player on the Suns side. It's going to be hard not to at least get him in your captain spot or at least in your utility spot. I don't think there's a reason or need to fade him, because he's just been super productive, as you can see, right? Like he's playing 40 plus minutes every single game in the Clippers series. He played over 40 minutes. That's insane. That's wild, and he's been super productive. So for that reason alone, I mean, the minutes are there. I don't see the minutes going down. I think they're just going to keep doing this. So I think he's a really strong, almost a must need in the utility spot, as well as a captain play. He obviously looks like one of the best. Now, Kevin Durant is probably my favorite captain play. 15.9K there. Gonna throw him in. I'm probably gonna make only one lineup tonight, and he will probably be at the head of it. Kevin Durant, I think he'll get. Yeah, obviously he'll get a ton of ownership. But I think people will, be drawn to Jokic or be drawn to Devin Booker, which makes sense. But Kevin Durant, I mean, we've not seen minutes like this on Kevin Durant. I don't think ever. Like even when he was younger, it's just insane. Like he's playing over 40 minutes a game. As I mentioned, the same thing with Devin Booker. And he's kind of been more of like the quiet one. As you can see, he's been obviously playing fantastic. But in terms of like DFS and fantasy, it's not like eye popping stuff, 63, obviously a great first game there. And then just 43, 44, obviously 55, 50. So it's just like he's been quiet compared to Devin Booker. So I think Durant, once again, really hard not to get him in the utility spot. And I love him as a captain play. I mean, he's playing that many minutes. We know Kevin Durant is one of the best players ever. So I love him as a captain play for today. And then moving on to the other guys here, Chris Paul is playing huge minutes. Like it's hard to deny the fact that he looks like a very solid mid-range option. I don't mind him in the captain spot as well. We saw the other day with the Hawks game. I think it may have been Smart who ended up in the optimal captain build. Don't quote me on that, but I know DeAndre Hunter was in there for a while up until like the fourth quarter. I think Smart maybe was the optimal captain, and it's one of those things like you can build that would allow you to get like Chris Paul, or excuse me, that would allow you to get to a Durant or Booker if you put Chris Paul in the captain spot. Obviously, it'd be still tough, but it's one of those things. Chris Paul doesn't have a massive ceiling. I mean, he still was able to get 51 there. It did help that he got 3 blocks and steals, but he's playing huge minutes. He's just super productive when he's out there. He'll get some points, he'll get some assists, he'll get some rebounds. He can't get blocks and steals, so it's like Chris Paul is really solid right now, and I like firing him up here in the spot. DeAndre Ayton's going to be the lowest of the four for obvious reasons, right? Like there is foul trouble, huge foul trouble here regarding Jokic. And the minutes are solid, like 35, 36, 36. But with that foul trouble, if it happens, he's going to probably see closer to like 30 minutes if he's in huge foul trouble. So DeAndre Ayton's a very, very solid, contrarian option there in the upper to mid range at 7,800. So I think if you want like a very contrarian piece across the board, it's going to be DeAndre Ayton across both sides, both teams, just because of the foul trouble risk, right? And the fact that he's just like the fourth option. But he was able to have, pretty solid games. As you can see, actually four straight double doubles. So DeAndre Ayton, been very, very solid. Another one of those guys that can sneak into like 35, 40 plus fantasy points if he's doing really solid and if he stays out of foul trouble. So a lot to like here on the Sun side, just because they're playing the four main guys, just massive amounts of minutes. And then in terms of like the cheaper guys, Okogie has actually started to get back into the lineup here, as you can see, 15 minutes, 21, 25, 33. So I think Okogie looks like a very, very strong mid-range option. He's pretty much taken over the Torrey Craig role. So it depends on ownership. Like Craig is still starting. His minutes are still decent. The last game obviously was not great. Did only shot at once. So it looks like he's getting phased out of the offense after starting off very strong. But obviously it's a new series. They might go back to him. So if Okogie's gonna be like 30, 40% owned and Craig's gonna be like 20% or less, I think I'd rather go to Craig just for the ownership difference. But it's one of those things we know, right? Like Okogie, he's rising in terms of his minutes and his usage, and Torrey Craig is obviously going downhill. So you got to keep that in mind. But I think for the price difference, and if there's a huge ownership difference, I wouldn't mind taking a shot on Torrey Craig. But obviously, Okogie overall looks like a better option. And then in terms of another guy we could look to is Biyombo. Like if DeAndre Ayton gets a foul trouble, they're going to have to go to Bismack Biyombo. And he's been super solid and very, very productive when he's out there in like 10 plus minutes. As you can see, 26 and a half and 12 minutes there against the Clippers. Went for 3 blocks. Obviously, that really helps out the fantasy score, but that's what he's known for. He's one of the best like per minute guys when it comes to blocks when he's out there. So it obviously leads to some foul trouble for him. But if you think DeAndre Ayton's going to get in foul trouble guarding Jokic, you probably want to take a shot on Biyombo there at 4,000 in the utility spot. So yeah, I think he looks solid. And then the rest of the team, not much to like. They did bring back Cameron Payne, but he only played 3 minutes, and it's just one of those things. They're playing their four main guys, as I mentioned: Booker, Paul, Ayton, and Kevin Durant. Massive amounts of minutes, so it's really hard to get to anyone else besides maybe taking that shot on Okogie or Craig in the utility spot, and maybe Biyombo. But otherwise, they're really just barely playing anyone else. Like Cam Payne will see a few minutes. Same thing with Lee. Same thing with Shamitz. They'll kind of just dust off a few people, but yeah, not much to like there in terms of the rest of the team besides kind of those two options I talked about. Now for the Denver side here, Jokic obviously looks fantastic there as a captain play. What's his price? 18.6. It'll be interesting to see like who's going to guard Jokic. Obviously, Ayton is going to be matched up with him, but I mean that's absolute barbecue chicken for Jokic. So I don't know. I love Jokic in the spot. He was super, super aggressive in those past 2 games. We really haven't seen from Jokic in a while. Usually he's kind of just the facilitator, getting everyone going. Up in those past 2 games, we did see him shoot 26 and 29 times, which is crazy. So it's really hard not to get Jokic into your team just because he's got the insane ceiling on him. So yeah, I love Jokic for obvious reasons. He's a huge part of this team, and I think the difference or the X factor in terms of this slate is going to be between Aaron Gordon and MPJ. We'll get there in a minute, but yeah, Jokic looks fantastic. Can't argue about Murray. I've been on him a good amount. Great player. He's playing about 40 minutes a game now, and he's been super, super fantastic, and he's just been very, very productive. So it's hard not to. It's one of those things like you want to get at least one of Booker and Durant, and then one of Jokic and Murray. It'd be nice to get 2 and 1. I don't think you can do 2 and 2. There's just not enough salary for that. And then obviously get different at the utility spots. That's kind of the route I'm going to go. But yeah, Jokic great. Obviously Murray looks great. Obviously everyone knows that. But as I mentioned, the X factors are probably going to be Aaron Gordon there and MPJ. I think most people will go to MPJ. He's a little bit cheaper. The minutes have been great. He's been super aggressive and he's been pretty productive. Even there with shooting 3 of 10, he still went for 25.5 fantasy points. And I think Aaron Gordon would be a very, very strong contrarian option, kind of like DeAndre Ayton, where it's like, I'm not sure who's going to be guarding Aaron Gordon. I mean, if it's Kevin Durant, like Kevin Durant's a solid defender, but Aaron Gordon's a big body, and he's going to post these guys up, and he's going to take advantage of the smaller matchup. So it's like, I could see Aaron Gordon having a very, very strong first game here. because the Suns don't really know how to match up. You know, they're going to want to be starting. They're going to want to stop Jokic. They're going to want to stop Jamal Murray, and that's going to leave Aaron Gordon open there down low. So I do really like Aaron Gordon here in the mid range at 7,200, especially if people are going to flock to MPJ. You know, as ownership play. If people are going to go there to MPJ, I'd rather go to Aaron Gordon. I'm not saying MPJ is a bad play. I think he's a very strong play. You know, the minutes are there. He's been very aggressive. He's a solid shooter, so it's like he has a huge upside if he's hitting the shots. So it's like I don't mind him, but in terms of ownership, I think I'm going to go to Aaron Gordon just for the ownership play. And then the rest of the team, there's not much to like. Like Bruce Brown should play like mid to high 20s. He's a fine play there at 5,000. KCP, he's more of like kind of that dart throw risky play where it's like he will play the minutes. It's just he's not very productive unless you get like a kind of like a ceiling game there where he hits a ton of his shots. But otherwise, it's just like he's going to see mid 20s minutes. Maybe he gets into the 30s if he's staying out of foul trouble and not doing too bad. So I think it's a fine play there. And then Jeff Green will play some minutes. I guess he's a dart throw value play option, and then Braun will play some minutes as well. So not much to like there, obviously for the Denver side either when it comes to people outside of the starting five. So right now, as I mentioned, I do think I'm going to go with Kevin Durant as a captain play. I just love the minutes, love the upside there with him. Expecting a huge game here from him in game one. The Clippers did double team him a ton, and he still was able to be very productive. I don't think that the Nuggets will double team him just because they're going to have to worry about Chris Paul. They're going to have to worry about Devin Booker. So I think they'll just play straight up. I think they have the people to do it. The Clippers were a little bit undersized and undermanned, obviously, and so I do think they're going to play straight up against the Suns and allow Kevin Durant to kind of work one on one. We'll have to wait and see, but I love him there in the captain spot. Aaron Gordon, he looks fantastic there at 7,200. As I mentioned, I do think this is one of those games where matchup wise, Aaron Gordon should be able to feast and thrive. So I do like him there in a utility spot. And for one more core play for today, we'll go with, as I mentioned, it's hard not to get to at least one of Booker, Jokic, or Murray. I think right now I'll land on Murray there just because of the price tag, but love all three of them for obvious reasons. But I think matchup wise, Murray going against CP3, I think that should be barbecue chicken for Jamal Murray. So I like him at his price tag. His upside, he looks very, very strong there. So those are going to be three core plays for me today. As I mentioned, you could try to fit in Booker or Jokic there, but it's one of those things where there's not really anyone under 4,000 that you're going to want to play. I mean, if you do that, it's like you have no one else to take a shot on. It had to be one of those things where you do the strategy where you just throw in, let's just say, like a guy who's probably not going to play. You get some salary relief there, and you're able to pay up for a Josh Okogie, Brown, KCP, Torrey Craig, stuff like that. But obviously, that's a tough option there, taking a zero. But it does allow you to get to 3 out of the 4 main guys. So you can definitely keep that in mind there for tonight's slates. But yeah, the 3 core plays for tonight are going to be Durant, Gordon, and Murray. Make sure to hit that like button. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.